Celine Rodriguez of Celine Auto Repair. Okay.
I don't know where we're supposed to go. They were just on a pile. Yeah. I'll sit on the end.
Squeeze me right here?
Yeah, let me grab another chair.
No, I got it. Don't worry about it.
And our EDC rep, if you could take a seat up front.
So I'm Gail Brewer, Manhattan Borough President, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight. This hearing is on the Inwood rezoning proposal. The proposal, as you know, is going through the Uniform Land Use Review procedure. And you know that this is a comment period for land use applications such as neighborhood rezoning. I do want people to know that we have headphones in the back for Spanish speakers.
Buenas noches. Este evento dispone de traducción simultánea al español. Si necesitan auriculares para participar en esa traducción, vayan a buscar al joven en la mesa atrás con el mantel azul.
Gracias, Natalie. Now, I want you to know that normally you'd have to silence your phone during events like this, but you should keep your phones out. And you can join in the Twitter conversation as time goes on. You'll be able to share your tweets about the Inwood rezoning if you use the hashtag Inwood rezoning. # Inwood rezoning, one word. You can tweet comments and ideas, and it'll appear on the screen. If you're not on Twitter, we'll have question cards you can fill out. Some of you have already done that. And then we also have testimony that has already come to our website. You should know that in the back, also upstairs, everyone who wants to testify, in addition to what you say in the small amount of time that we have tonight, we have space set up so you can make a video recording of your testimony. The space is located just outside the auditorium in the lobby area. Shh. So I just want to say thank you to Community Board number 12. I know there are members here because on March 26th, Community 12 offered a thoughtful and comprehensive recommendation on the rezoning. There are copies upstairs and on their table. Thank you, Community Board number 12. I will pay a lot of attention to the Community Board. I was on my Community Board for 10 years. I know how hard Community Board 12 works. And on April 25th, we will make our recommendation. Shh. Economic Development Corporation, I want to thank you. For 2 years, you've engaged in community outreach on this proposal. I've met with your office many times. I've attended many events personally, and we appreciate that you have paid attention to the feedback. Of course, there's always more to pay attention to, and I will do the same. But when I look at the current proposal, I have 2 serious questions, which I think those in the audience have the same. And by the way, I love the balloons. I love the balloons. First time I've ever seen balloons at a hearing. I love them. I love them. So question number 1, will this proposal address the housing crisis in Inwood, or will it make it worse? That's question number 1. Maybe it'll make it better. Will it make it worse? And number 2, how will the small businesses be impacted? Some of you know when I was in the city council, I worked really hard and passed a law on small business on the Upper West Side trying to help them. I feel very strongly about small business mom and pops in our neighborhood. In terms of housing, you know as well as I do that all of Manhattan, Inwood too, we all feel the impact of gentrification. Rents are rising here as in other neighborhoods. We lose our affordable housing stock, and we know that Washington Heights And Inwood ranks second in the city in terms of what they call index of housing price appreciation, which means the rents are going up. And it found that the median asking rent for market rate apartments in the neighborhood is between $2,000 and $2,500, and the median income is low in Washington Heights and $43,000 in Inwood, but if you put them together, it's low. And there is almost no vacancy rate. I think you know that. And many occupied units are overcrowded, and we know that we are all dealing with preferential rent. 29% of everybody in a rent-stabilized apartment in Inwood is living in a situation where the owner has cut the rent in terms of what we have to pay, but he can up it and she can up it at any moment. There are 16,000 residential units in Inwood, 10,000 are rent regulated. And a ProPublica study, ProPublica is a very legitimate nonprofit think tank, said, as I said, 3,033 apartments have preferential rent in Inwood. And that makes the tenant at risk, because we don't have a state law that allows that program to be changed, and we are worried that the owner can do anything he or she wants to increase the rent. We know that the neighborhood lost over 400 rent-stabilized units between 2007 and 2016, and probably more. That's the official count. And that doesn't count the preferential rents that went up in that same time period. The Inwood plan seeks to address the housing crisis by creating opportunities for development. According to the draft EIS environmental impact statement, the rezoning would create a total of 4,348 units over 15 years. But nearly 3,000 of those units are expected to be market rate if the proposal goes through. If the current affordable housing stock continues to diminish, and more than 60% of the new construction will consist of market rate units under the current proposal, and I underline the word proposal, can the current proposal set forth by the city address the current affordable crisis in the area? That's a concern that I have, and I'm sure you have. Regarding small business, I am very concerned about the small business. The plan presents pitfalls to the local small business community current operating in Inwood, in my opinion. According to the draft impact study, the DEIS, the area is expected to experience a net decrease of 50,614 square feet of light industrial space, which means manufacturing. The loss of light industrial space represents the concentration of wholesale businesses in Sherman Creek to 2 sites on the southern portion of the area, and also the eventual direct displacement and elimination of the auto-related businesses on Sherman Creek and Upland Wedge sub-districts. That could mean over 20 businesses, some of which employ as many as 25 mechanics and staff, and those are jobs that we need. In addition to the changes in the wholesale and auto-related businesses, the plan for Inwood places the current retail sector of the neighborhood in jeopardy of direct and indirect displacement, because many other businesses are located in single-story or 2-story, known as taxpayers. The plan creates an Inwood Special District sub-district. I call it the Commercial U. It consists of 82 lots and a total of little over 863,000 square feet of space, 309 businesses, and about 2,000 employees. These are primarily owned by the community of color, many owned by the Dominican community who lives in the area. Nearly half of the businesses, 147, are located in what we call soft sites. That could be what I call the taxpayer. It's a site that could be built. This places nearly half of the commercial mom and pop businesses and workers, in my opinion, in jeopardy of displacement. Inwood is very active, and it represents the entrepreneurial spirit of the neighborhood and the residents, and the tools to protect small businesses and give them opportunities to prosper, in my opinion, must be part of any rezoning plan. We will continue over the next few weeks to meet with stakeholders and agencies to prepare our recommendation. But I take what you say here very, very seriously. We did the same thing for East Midtown when we had a hearing, and we did the same thing for East Harlem when we had a hearing, and we did the same thing in the Chinatown area, and we did the same thing in the South Street Seaport area. We listened to the community. After we make our recommendation on April 25th, as some of you know, that proposal will be placed in the hands of the City Planning Commission. The City Planning Commission has 60 days to review the proposal, and they too will have a hearing downtown. The City Planning Commission will issue their vote at the end of their review period. That's a vote on the rezoning plan. If approved by the City Planning Commission, the application will then go to the City Council.
Just try that password.
The City Council have 50 days to review and vote on the application, and then they will make a recommendation. And I know later, your wonderful council member, Udanis Rodriguez, will be here. I look forward to hearing from all of you. It's important that you are engaging in this process. I hope that you liked the brochure that we mailed. Did anybody get this brochure in the mail? I hope you did. Thank you. Have you ever seen such a beautiful brochure? Thank you, John Houston, very much. I believe in making sure that everybody knows what's going on. So to make the process more meaningful, and I want to thank the Economic Development Corporation, they will have a little bit of time to talk about their proposal, and then to help us understand the concerns of the residents and businesses and what might be done to address these amazing challenges. First we'll have a residential panel, and then we'll have the small business panel. But first I want to hear from the Economic Development Corporation, and thank you very much for being here. Is it easier this and that? I don't know. Thank you all very much. Okay, come on up, come on.
Aldrin?
You can sit right there.
Is there Wi-Fi here that you can access?
Thank you for all coming out here tonight, and I want to thank the Borough President and her staff for giving us this time to speak. My name is Rebecca Gaffert, and I'm here from the New York City Economic Development Corporation. I will be very brief tonight. The focus is on your feedback, but just want to set the stage before we jump into these topics, these very important topics. EDC has been working on the Inwood NYC project for over 2.5 years, working in the community. And over that time, we've heard a range of opinions. We've heard hopes as well as concerns that reflect the diversity of the neighborhood. And overall, we've heard that the community wants to protect what's great about Inwood and offer more. And a couple of themes, really important themes, have emerged as part of those conversations. We've heard that Inwood has a large stock of affordable housing, which is a great asset to the community. However, tenants need protection, and this housing stock needs to be preserved. While there is a large amount of affordable housing, elsewhere in the neighborhood, rents are rising. Infrastructure is aging and needs investment. West of 10th Avenue, we've heard feedback that there's a strong built character of the neighborhood that people want to protect. However, the neighborhood could use more community space, more jobs, more services for Inwood residents. And overall, there's a decades-old desire to have public access to the waterfront. People are ready for this to really become a reality. These are concerns that we've heard loud and clear, and that we're responding to. And as the Borough President mentioned, we also heard again from the Community Board a couple of weeks ago when they offered a very thoughtful and nuanced response to the proposal. So overall, we're here tonight to talk about the land use actions and the rezoning. But these are really one tool that the city is using and part of a broader plan that we've been working on with the community, the Inwood NYC Action Plan. This is a process that the mission of which is to ensure that Inwood remains an affordable, attractive neighborhood for working families. This is a plan that builds on past planning efforts. We're not reinventing the wheel here, and it involves cooperation and coordination among 8 city agencies. Overall, we know that there are needs that the city has not addressed in a long time, and the city is responding, and that started with the Inwood NYC Action Plan, which was released last year. It includes strategies to achieve the community's goals around affordable housing, neighborhood livability, investing in people, and using zoning as a tool to complement all of these strategies. The plan is not finished. We released an update in the winter showing progress against all of those goals, and I really urge you to take a copy and take a look. As I mentioned, zoning is the reason we're here tonight, and our land use actions are one type of tool that the city has, but really city investment and land use actions work together to unlock opportunity in Inwood. So first, why does Inwood need updated zoning? Zoning in Inwood has not been updated in over half a century, and it's holding back progress on some of these needs that the community has. As you know, zoning controls what you can build and where and how much you can build. And in Inwood, there are large portions of the neighborhood that are zoned for M or C8 districts, manufacturing and heavy commercial districts, where today you cannot build new housing. Where housing is allowed in the neighborhood, affordable housing is not required. And because of a lack of height limits, new development could erode existing character in large parts of the neighborhood. Current zoning also does not require waterfront public open space, and this is really a missed opportunity. So what are we doing about it? The city has already been investing in and helping to solve some of these problems, and as I mentioned, these investments work hand in hand with the land use actions that we're here to talk about tonight. So first, the city is making investments in Inwood's long-term affordability, and this is really a three-pronged approach, and I'll let the panelists go into greater detail about this, but the first priority we know is to protect existing tenants, and the city is making investments to make sure that we're protecting people who live here today. Second, we're working to preserve existing affordable housing. And again, I'll let our panelists talk a bit more in detail about those investments that are happening today. And the third prong is really to create new affordable housing, to make sure that there is a new supply coming online. And this is something that can really only be accomplished in any meaningful way through zoning. So as I mentioned, today there's no way to require permanently affordable housing on privately owned sites. So we're proposing to map MIH, mandatory inclusionary housing, in some areas to require permanently affordable housing. In addition, as part of our proposed actions, the library project would create affordable homes along with a state-of-the-art library and universal pre-K. We're excited that a developer has been designated for this project and that it will create 100% affordable housing for the community. And in addition, HPD encourages private property owners to work with them to try to find opportunities for additional affordable housing beyond MIH. We heard from the community board that there are still concerns about affordability, and we're listening to this. We are hearing from the community that we want to find more opportunities to build affordable housing, that they're concerned specifically about affordability levels and about tenant protections. So on the topic of infrastructure, the city is making investments today, and zoning is another tool that will help us create better infrastructure in Inwood. The city is making investments in Inwood's parks, streets, and intersections to make them safer for pedestrians, upgrades to the Broadway Bridge, and replacing water and sewer infrastructure. The proposed land use actions are really needed to encourage an active public realm and waterfront open space.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Today, there are parts of the neighborhood west of 10th Avenue where there are active streets, retail, and community use on the ground floor. The proposed zoning would reinforce this where it exists in the neighborhood and extend this character east to the waterfront. East of 10th Avenue, the proposed zoning would also require that private property owners build out publicly accessible open space, and sidewalk widenings would be required in some areas to improve pedestrian circulation. We've heard from the community board concerns about these areas too. We've heard first support, loud and clear, for open space along the waterfront. We've heard that we need to look at investments in infrastructure. We've heard that we need to look at investments in parks and waterfront open space and community and recreation space. And then finally, access to opportunity. The city is making investments in this area as well, and zoning is another tool to help us achieve these goals. Just a few examples of what we're doing, and again, the panelists will go into greater detail. The new Manhattan Workforce One Center that's targeted to the residents of Inwood. The Neighborhood 360 program is supporting local businesses. The Business Solutions Center is offering courses for existing businesses. And the Building Community Capacity Initiative has focused on grants and training for cultural organizations. And the proposed land use actions, again, are really designed to unlock more opportunities for Inwood residents. Mixed-use zoning will encourage job-intensive uses and space for existing businesses to grow and expand. We've heard from the community board that there are concerns around these areas, and we're working to address them. We've heard that there's support for allowing additional commercial space and community facility space throughout the neighborhood. But we've heard that we want to make sure that we're protecting existing businesses and supporting entrepreneurs in Inwood, and that we need to develop strategies for economic development and additional workforce training. When we talk about zoning, the proposed actions are really about taking a balanced approach to zoning in the neighborhood. This is a zoning proposal that is not off the shelf. It's highly tailored to the unique conditions of Inwood. And as you recall, this is really a response to what we heard from the community. It was originally looking just at an area in east of 10th Avenue. And as a result of the engagement that we did and the feedback that we heard, over 80% of the expanded rezoning area was zoned for preservation. We heard from the community board that there are still concerns about height and density, and this is an ongoing process, and we're looking into that feedback. Okay. As the borough president mentioned, the community board submitted a very thorough and comprehensive recommendation, which supported some actions and included comments about zoning and clear priorities for city investment. We're reviewing that resolution as this process continues, and tonight we really want to hear from you, and we look forward to hearing the borough president's recommendation as well.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and from Economic Development Corporation, and we've been joined by the very special Carmen De La Rosa, member of the New York State Assembly. She'll say something in a few minutes, but I'd like to go right to the panel. In a minute, I'll say thank you to all the representatives who are here, but I know I want to hear from the panel. Just go ahead, whoever wants to start, introduce yourself. This is the panel about residents in Inwood. Whoever would like to start.
Hi.
Good.
Mi nombre es Paloma Lara. Soy residente de Washington Heights, no de Inwood. Y yo nací en la República Dominicana. Vine a los Estados Unidos a los 9 años y me crié en el Bajo Manhattan por Delancey Street. Me mudé a Washington Heights hace 6 años. Y fue la mejor decisión que he hecho en mi vida entera. Me siento en un espacio de familia, en un espacio común, de comunidad. Básicamente Washington Heights te ofrece todo lo que tú puedes tener en mi país, pero en Nueva York es bien extraño que aunque uno esté tan lejos de su país, puede encontrar ese espacio aquí también. Pero básicamente yo creo que la diferencia es, ya sabemos, todo aquí que estamos aquí queremos obviamente viviendas accesibles, porque sabemos que es importante. La diferencia en la forma en que la ciudad la quiere hacer y en que la mayoría de residentes, incluyendo a mí, la diferencia es que en la estrategia y en la forma en que nosotros queremos llegar a tener viviendas accesibles. En la forma que la ciudad propone traer viviendas accesibles es usando un programa que se llama Viviendas Inclusivas. Y básicamente es un programa que se comenzó para entregar a barrios que son mayormente de personas blancas con ingresos altos, para tratar de parar la situación, para integrarlos más y también integrar a comunidades negras, latinas, inmigrantes de poco ingreso. Entonces, cuando tú haces todo lo contrario, lo que pasa es que entonces ahora vamos a tener una situación en que van a traer personas blancas a un barrio que es ya diverso, que tiene bastantes latinos y personas negras y personas de clase media que trabajan. Y eso básicamente lo que va a causar es un desplazamiento de nuestra comunidad, de la comunidad latina, de la comunidad dominicana, de la comunidad trabajadora. El plan de la ciudad va a añadir a 14,000 personas. De esas personas, el 75% va a ser que van a tener un ingreso alto, mucho más alto de lo que es el ingreso aquí ahora normal. Y la mayoría van a ser personas blancas. Entonces, lo que significa eso es que la comunidad latina va a disminuir bastante. Ya en los últimos 4 años hemos visto que la comunidad dominicana en solamente 4 años ha bajado un 6.2%. ¿Okay? Lo que significa que los recursos que nosotros necesitamos ya no van a estar aquí, porque nosotros vamos a ser una comunidad de minoridad, nuestros negocios se van a ir. Nosotros tenemos un centro especial donde toda nuestra comunidad está interconectada y vamos a perder esa oportunidad de seguir viviendo y siendo parte de la comunidad. O sea, el plan de la ciudad básicamente está hiriendo a los inmigrantes, a las personas que son de clase trabajadora, a los latinos, a la persona negra, y están añadiendo a personas blancas, a personas con ingresos altos, y no va a haber espacio para nosotros, básicamente.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Pam, and I'm a resident of Inwood, and I'm one of the founding members of the Northern Manhattan Community Land Trust. This rezoning, which is the most significant potential change in Northern Manhattan in decades, is being advanced primarily for the benefit of people who do not live here now. Efforts by the community We've tried to get a seat at the table and to influence what ultimately happens in our neighborhood, but it's been an increasingly and unnecessarily difficult struggle, even though we have a mayor with a stated commitment to support low-income and underrepresented communities. There are so many unheard voices: seniors, small business owners, artists. The thousands of Inwood residents who live in Dyckman houses have been entirely left out of any conversation. All we have to do today is read the news to see the harm that our government's neglect causes. A mother of young children is in a coma after rescuing her family from an apartment fire because NYCHA failed to replace her stove that she complained about multiple times because the burners turned on by themselves. While she lives on the Upper West Side, the point is that our leadership has turned a blind eye to her because she is poor. Despite all the talk about public investments in the Inwood plan, we have heard nothing about the condition of buildings in the Dyckman Houses development, whether tenant complaints are being addressed timely and effectively, or whether there'll be any improvements in public spaces or community services used by the entire community in the Dyckman Houses development. And public housing is a critical yet invisible resource toward achieving the mayor's goals of reducing homelessness and creating stable neighborhoods. The Inwood plan is overly focused on what developers want: tall buildings and high rents. It's not about the people who live here. For example, we've heard nothing about creating quality jobs for people without college degrees, people who were formerly incarcerated, or people who are disabled or chronically ill. And by the way, retail wages won't adequately support families and certainly won't enable them to afford the rents in the Inwood plan. Thousands of residents who pay preferential rents are at even greater risk of displacement under rezoning than they are now, but the Inwood plan doesn't even acknowledge that the risk exists. It assumes incorrectly that these leases are rent regulated, but the reality is that people are being economically displaced right now because landlords are charging rent increases upwards of $300 a month. All this talk of rezoning is just incentivizing landlords to be more aggressive with their tenants. The issue of preferential rents directly affects low-income and middle-class residents. But community residents have been aggressive at holding EDC, our councilman, and the mayor to account, and we've really tried to create a more inclusive, interactive process. And that's why we are working to build a community land trust toward the goal of creating community-controlled, permanently affordable housing and community facilities. We really commend HPD and the City Council for recognizing community land trusts as viable pathways to achieving truly affordable housing. But to succeed at serving low-income communities, community land trusts are going to need the city to create affordable financing mechanisms, such as a revolving loan fund seeded with fees charged to developers, and to create standard contracts that allow community land trusts to participate in affordable housing development projects as limited partners who assume full ownership over time with conditions. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sagiv Galai. I'm a paralegal and a researcher at Manhattan Legal Services. I work with the Inwood office. We've been working here for about 1.5 years and have represented many buildings and many tenants in eviction proceedings and aggression against their landlords. I'm going to talk a bit about this plan from the perspective of those tenants and from the breadth of experience that we have here as advocates. So many of the individuals who are scheduled to testify here today will or already have urged the office of the borough president to vote no on the current rezoning proposal. Such demands are based on a series of acute concerns shared by this community. That's why you're here. These concerns have been echoed in various hearings and marked this process until now. Federal housing policy in America was based on discrimination. Even the laudable aims of the New Deal had racist stereotypes and the ideology of segregation entrenched across all housing stocks in nearly every state. New York was not an exception to this rule. Neighborhoods like Inwood have historically suffered from disinvestment because of such housing policies and their perpetuation. When we look at the success of Inwood and its unwavering vibrancy, we need to heed that this place is what it is today because of incredibly resilient, working-class residents stayed and withstood that disinvestment and disregard. This is what makes our city have the neighborhoods that we have in terms of the businesses, the culture, and the community. It is resilience and sometimes resistance which has allowed them to stay havens for proud working-class residents. So considering this history, it's not surprising that so many residents have come together to express their grievances and concerns. When we speak to our clients about the neighborhood changing, we hear anger and we hear dismay. Because despite this history of disinvestment and inadequate resources, now the city wants to shake things up and revitalize Inwood in a manner in which they believe will either directly exclude them, push them out, or just ignore their needs. Should these residents be forced into a position in which they have to accept the negative aspects of this proposal in order to acquire the positive elements it promises? Community improvement cannot remain contingent on rezoning policies, especially if neighborhoods where New Yorkers already have to struggle to pay rent, and they have to struggle beyond the struggle, and they attend the most segregated schools, and they have to contend with the most racist policing. So, paradoxically, if this plan is approved, Inwood's landlords and future developers will be preparing for a windfall of revenue, even though they have kept many of these buildings in horrible conditions for years. This past year, we dealt with far too many intransigent landlords who failed to fix their elevators when they're out, even though elderly and disabled tenants depend on them. Right? There's a massive lack of heat right at the peak of winter. And now there's a new trend. Some of you may know about this from the organizing perspective. We have this new epidemic of cooking gas outages that just are out for months. Everybody gets hot plates, but yet they never get restored. And when they do get restored, the landlord gets to take an MCI increase. Okay. So it should not be surprising this community has aimed to persuade the city to change this proposal. Community improvements such as affordable housing, bigger libraries, and better school resources, efficient public transportation, and community land trust can be created without upzoning across Inwood. It shouldn't be an ultimatum. At LISNY, Legal Services NYC, and especially in our Inwood community office, as tenant advocates, we ask ourselves, who is this rezoning for? we're apprehensive that it's not for the current community. Nor is it for newcomers, for the current small businesses or the tenants, but rather it's for developers and for the more affluent newcomers that these landlords are banking on. And this raises the question, why does a vibrant, thriving community like Inwood need to accept rezoning in order to merit investment by the city? The array of tactics. Sorry, I just want to give the next guy enough time. The array of tactics waged by the frenzied Inwood landlord is already being directed at driving out many of our clients and their neighbors. And we believe it'll only get worse if the rezoning gets approved. We believe that our clients and the broader Inwood community deserve all of the investment that ride on the coattails of rezoning, and that they shouldn't have to face upzoning, displacement, and heightened gentrification to receive long overdue investment from their own city.
Michael, before you start, the Assemblywoman has to leave soon, so we'd like to have Assemblywoman Carmen De La Rosa say a few words. Thank you very much, Madam Assemblywoman, for being here.
My pleasure, and thank you. I did want to listen to the entire panel. I do have my staff that's here that's going to stay for the entire event, but I have to go to Community Board 8 in Marble Hill tonight. I'm going to be speaking to them about some of the work we're doing in Albany. As Gail said, I'm the Assemblywoman for the area. First of all, I want to thank Gail Brewer, our borough president, for putting this hearing together as part of the ULEP process. Thank you, Gail, for all the work that you're doing. So, most of us are here to listen to the community. I want to encourage you all, as you've been doing, to take this opportunity to participate and to express your concerns and your needs. I want to actually thank the community and the community board. I think that this process has been a difficult one, but at the end of the day, from the first plan I saw to this plan, there have been changes. And I think that is due to the work that the community has done. So I want to extend that appreciation to you all. Le quiero dar la gracia a la comunidad, porque creo que desde el primer plan que vimos a este plan hay una diferencia. Y eso es por la unidad y por las voces de la comunidad que han salido a hablar de sus necesidades. Así que le doy la gracia por eso. Speaking on the community, I think that the community board's resolution that was passed had some very good insight, was very professional, and was very thoughtful. I read the resolution, and I think that the feedback that was given by the community board was critical. So, as was said by the panel, our communities are tired of being left behind when it comes to resources. And we know that it is the responsibility of government to ensure that these resources come to our community, whether there is development or not. On my part, the areas of most concern is obviously the housing, the affordability component, and the ability for us to, if we choose to, develop responsibly while not taking away and while keeping the soul of Inwood. Creo que por mi parte, el área que tengo más problema o más preocupación es con la vivienda. Creo que es importante que si nosotros, si se hace una decisión de llevar a cabo la rezonificación o no, que el alma de Inwood permanezca, que lo que nos trajo a esta comunidad, como mis padres que vinieron aquí en los 80, permanezca en esta comunidad. What makes us vibrant and what makes us Inwood has to remain. I want to see a strong preservation plan as we move forward in this process. Un plan de preservación para que las personas que han vivido en esta comunidad, ya dije, como mis padres, que tienen más de 40 años viviendo aquí, como mis vecinos, se puedan quedar y puedan vivir con dignidad. I want to see a plan where people are able to stay and live with dignity. A plan that looks at housing, that looks at the conditions of housing, that looks at the problems of preferential rent, which were mentioned. Obviously, I know that the rent laws are subject to state regulations, and I fully intend to continue to be a strong voice for the repeal of vacancy decontrol, the closing of preferential rent loopholes, and ensuring that rent stabilization laws are strengthened in Albany. And I know that that's a big part of what's happening up here. Yo entiendo de que las regulaciones que tienen que ver con vivienda, las leyes se pasan en Albany. Y sé que voy a continuar siendo una voz para asegurar que esas rentas, que los inquilinos estén empoderados por las leyes que se hacen en el estado, que tienen que ver con las regulaciones de renta. And in 2019, those laws will come before the state legislature. Small businesses are a critical part of our fabric, and I want to make sure that we see incentives that make them be able to stay here, but not only stay, because some of them will be able to stay. We want to see them thrive. We want to make sure that they're able to continue to offer what they've been offering to our communities for so long. There have been too many press conferences around businesses that are closing, and we want to make sure that these businesses stay here. On education, I want to see more investment. We need to see more investment in the quality of education. I have a 4-year-old daughter who is going into pre-K in District 6, and I want to make sure that, like her, the other children in our community are able to have access to quality education. Early childhood is critical if we're going to move a workforce in Upper Manhattan. La calidad de la educación tiene que mejorar. Tenemos que asegurar que tenemos programas que desde temprana edad enseñan a nuestros niños para que ellos puedan ser una parte íntegra de la clase trabajadora de esta comunidad. Our high schools, we should not have to worry at every turn that a high school is closing in our district. And that is a problem that we've had far too much uptown. We have to see more investments there, and we want to make sure that we see that going forward in this plan. Infrastructure. So I was recently appointed to be chair of the infrastructure subcommittee in the Assembly. And infrastructure is something that I think is absolutely critical. We've seen what happens when infrastructure is ignored, and we want to make sure that that is something that this plan continues to look at. We want to see that if the capacity, as was mentioned here, grows, that the residents of Inwood grows, then we want to know that we have the infrastructures to serve them safely and to make sure that the people who live here do not see a downgrade in services. What are those services? Sanitation, our subway system, something we've seen in the news time and time again, our bus system, our network of buses are not functioning at the moment. We want to make sure that when these enhancements happen in our community, that we are also looking at accessibility, that we're looking at ADA compliance, that we're able to not just piecemeal the solutions for our transit system. Creo que es importante de que las soluciones de tránsito continúen en nuestra comunidad. Si vamos a agregar más personas, es lógico de que tengamos un plan donde la comunidad no sufra de que los servicios de sanidad, de educación, de empleo bajen en la comunidad. As we also look at the environment, the access to the waterfront is important. I think that this plan takes a serious look at that, and we need to make sure that the investment in our public spaces, both green and blue, is there. Waterfront access is important, but we must also remember that this community is in a flood zone, and we do have flooding that has occurred here when we have hurricanes. We want to make sure that that is something that we also include in this plan. And obviously, the arts and the culture of this community. We know that we have gems in our community when it comes to art and culture. So many people live in this community, work in this community, and are artists. There's local artists. There's a thriving artist community. We do not want to see that community displaced. Oh, sorry. I'll try to translate this part. Nos acaban de informar que están arreglando los traductores, so voy a tratar de decir algunas palabras en español. So as I was saying, art and culture is important. As we look to invest in Inwood, that has to be a part that we make a serious investment in this plan. Where are our theater spaces? Where are our dance studios? Where are our music studios? That is something that we want to continue to see in this plan. And so le queremos dar la gracia a la presidenta de condado. We want to thank Gail Brewer for this platform. I will look forward to continuing to work with my colleagues to make sure that at the end of this process, when the city councilman takes this vote, when Gail Brewer takes this vote, when the community board has already spoken, that the interests of the community is reflected in that plan, and that is the ultimate goal. Le quiero dar la gracia a la presidenta de condado y a mis colegas. Espero seguir trabajando con ellos para que las necesidades de esta comunidad sigan siendo reflexionadas en ese plan. Creo que cuando trabajamos unidamente y cuando ponemos la voz de la comunidad como prioridad, se puede lograr mucho. Sabemos que los cambios que está pasando en nuestra comunidad han estado pasando por mucho tiempo. Esto no comenzó hace 4 años, no comenzó hace 2 años cuando este plan se comenzó. Comenzó mucho antes. Entonces, si vamos a tener un cambio en esta comunidad, creo que las voces de la comunidad tienen que dirigir ese cambio. Así que le doy la gracia por tenerme aquí hoy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Assemblywoman Carmen de la Rosa. Lo que tienen el equipo, los audífonos para la traducción en español, ¿tienen dificultades oyendo la traducción en español? Levanten la mano si tienen. Si se sienten en esta área de aquí, hay menos dificultades oyendo la traducción en español. Si se sienten de este lado hacia adelante, pueden oír la traducción mejor con el equipo. Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Se dieron cuenta
Yeah.
y fue la única
excuse
persona
me.
que pararon antes de los 2 minutos, aunque yo era la única persona que
hold
estaba
on.
hablando en español también, y que siempre tenemos el mismo problema en que nunca nos dan equipo suficiente para traducir a las personas que hablan español. Y de verdad que le damos las gracias, no estoy diciendo lo contrario.
I want to
pero
have,
es
hold on
la
a second.
verdad.
I want to have the next
Las únicas
speaker.
personas que sí están de verdad en la calle pidiendo que se hagan estos cambios, sí es la comunidad, no los políticos, somos nosotros que nos estamos parando todos los días aquí y los cambios
Okay,
que
hold on a
hemos
minute.
todavía no se han hecho.
Michael, gracias por lo que... Michael Sandler.
Hi, my name is Michael Sandler. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Planning at the Department of Housing Preservation and Development. I want to thank my co-panelists for speaking tonight. I think HPD and this administration share many of the goals and values that you've put forth, and I believe that our approach meets many of these goals. As the folks in this room know, Inwood contains one of the largest concentrations of rent-regulated housing in the city. 2 of every 3 homes in this neighborhood are regulated, compared with just 1/3 citywide. The city's population continues to grow, putting pressure on the housing supply citywide, and here in Inwood especially. Between 2002 and 2014, rents in Inwood and Washington Heights increased by 38%, which is more than rents increase citywide and in other parts of the city. Under Housing New York, the city has invested heavily in affordable housing. We've created or preserved nearly 90,000 affordable homes, about 80% of which are affordable to low-income families. Over 1/3 of them are serving those making less than $43,000 a year. However, of the more than 25,000 new affordable apartments constructed across the city since the start of the mayor's housing plan, less than 1% have been constructed in Inwood and Washington Heights. A big reason for that many of the folks in this room know, is that this neighborhood is largely built out. This rezoning proposal is crucial to address the high demand for housing by enabling growth in appropriate areas. Working closely with EDC, HPD has created a housing section of the Inwood Action Plan, which memorializes a set of strategies to address the area's unique housing needs, from preservation and anti-displacement to new affordable housing. There are a few programs that I want to highlight tonight. I also want to emphasize that many of these programs are new and have been created as a result of dialogue with community groups and elected officials here in the Inwood community. So for preservation, we are conducting more proactive outreach to property owners than ever before to let them know about our financing programs to make building improvements and to extend affordability. Over the past 2 years, we've conducted multiple mailers, robocalls, and events to reach properties in Inwood, including those with expiring tax benefits. Our new Neighborhood Pillars initiative was created this year, and it will dedicate funding for nonprofits and mission-based organizations to acquire and rehab unsubsidized rent-stabilized buildings so that they can maintain the affordability that is crucial to this housing stock. Just this week, we released a request for qualifications to identify organizations who can access this funding. To support tenants, the city's tenant support unit is going door to door in Inwood to inform tenants of their rights, document poor housing conditions, solicit complaints related to harassment and eviction, and make referrals to free legal support. In Inwood, they've knocked on 27,000 doors and provided direct assistance to 2,500 tenants. Any Inwood resident in need of legal advice or representation in housing court now has free access to a lawyer. To date, the city has provided over 2,200 Inwood residents with legal assistance. So really quickly about new construction, the mandatory inclusionary housing program in this rezoning area will enable growth opportunities and ensure that any new development includes some affordable housing. The rezoning itself is expected to result. The rezoning itself is expected to result in the creation of at least 1,500 permanent affordable homes through the MIH program. The rezoning is also needed to facilitate the creation of a few 100% affordable developments. We recently announced the designation of the Inwood Library to a team led by Cloth and the Children's Village. When complete, this project will create 175 deeply affordable homes, a new Inwood Library, universal pre-K classrooms, and community programs and services. The project will be owned and managed by nonprofit organizations who have committed to permanent affordability. Another project you're probably familiar with is being led by Mad Equities and Joy Construction on privately owned property at 207th Street and the Harlem River. HPD is currently working with this team to finance the creation of over 600 affordable homes, community retail, and a publicly accessible waterfront promenade. Without the rezoning, these 100% affordable projects would not be possible. I know that I am at time, so I will stop there, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Michael. And I have just one question to start with the representative of Manhattan Legal Services, and thank you, Mr. Galai, for being here today. My question is, in terms of the kind of housing that you see, how, either with or without the rezoning, how do we stop some of the gentrification and keep people in their homes? What would be some of the advice that you would give? Because you're on the line. And yes, you.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. I appreciate that follow-up because I have so much to say, and, pages and pages and pages, but yeah.
We don't need pages.
Sure. So to that, I think the resources that are allocated to units like the Tenant Rights Coalition, which does affirmative litigation, right? What I mean by affirmative litigation, I think there's actually some former clients of ours here. We go and we chase down the bad landlords, right? So your office and we coordinated and we learned that one landlord bought 13 buildings in one day, right? And they had 360 units. That's way over leveraged, and they're definitely going to have to raise the rents. So we need to have resources to chase them down. And when I say resources, I don't just mean attorneys, right? I'm a paralegal, I'm doing the research, or we need money for more organizers. We need to be able to support tenant associations.
And then I have one other question, which is I'm a big supporter of land trust. And in East Harlem, we have a land trust. Could you be very specific as to how it could support the kind of housing that we're all advocating for?
One of the things that land trusts do is they help to ensure that housing that is affordable remains permanently affordable by making the land available at low cost to the developers, which in our case we would want not-for-profit developers or we would want HDFCs.
Okay.
So they're stewards.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Spanish-speaking community. So,
but quickly, because we got about 500 people.
Ella está hablando del CLT, de Community Land Trust, que es un programa que es significante y que puede en realidad ayudar a nuestra comunidad. Es un programa en que la tierra, el valor de la tierra en realidad se lo pone en las manos de la comunidad. O sea, que si vienen personas que tienen ingreso alto, que si cambia el barrio, todavía se puede mantener igual porque esa tierra nos pertenece a nosotros y nosotros le damos el valor. Aunque los precios de la tierra en otro espacio suban, en el espacio de nosotros controlamos eso y por eso es que de verdad, en realidad, como Aidani que está aquí ahora, a él le deben de decir, nosotros queremos programas que crean a Community Land Trust, en realidad no lo sé decir en español, pero es un programa bien bueno y le quiero decir que cuando lleguen a su casa que en realidad lo busquen para que aprendan más sobre eso.
Thank you. Quickly, because I got so many people who want us to
One just quick follow-up. One of the things that distinguishes a land trust from, say, a not-for-profit like Cloth is that our land trust, we really want it to be community controlled. The members will be members of the community, it will be led by the community, and the decisions will be made by the members who are members of the community.
I want to thank this panel very much because we have a business panel coming up, and just in the interim, I'd love to hear a few words from our wonderful council member, Udanis Rodriguez.
Thank you.
You can boo me, but at the end of the day, the only thing that we can do is to listen to each other. I said before, I've been here for 9 years. And I have not done any single reason in my 9 years as a council. I don't know any favor to landlord or real estate. And no one has been fighting for social justice in the street in our community than what I've been doing in my year that I've been here. So, first of all, I appreciate what Manhattan Borough President been doing, sending information, educating all of us. I believe that everyone agreed on the newsletter that she sent. No reasoning, I believe that everyone agreed when he said, if we don't do a good reasoning, it will equal to gentrification. But if we don't do anything, we will keep adding the number of residents, close now to 10,000, that being priced out in Brooklyn, West Side, and other areas, also gentrifying our community. Because those apartments that are in preferential rent used to belong to Doña Maria, to Doña Rosa, and the landlord did not provide heat and hot water, pushed those tenants out, and sometimes we, my current liberal and progressive, we need to go back and look who used to live in those apartments. The crisis of housing did not happen overnight. In the 90s, Albany established a vacancy control. They gave all the power to real estate, and we ended where we are here today. So I will keep listening to everyone. I hope that we are able to come out with a good conclusion. I have shown in other places. I'm here for the working class and middle class. I believe as a community, we can do a good project together, but at the end of the day, your contributions and suggestions are very important. Para mí lo más, pero yo no estoy votando hoy, but I'm not voting tonight. So para mí lo más importante en este proceso, uno es lograr que si se hace un cambio, por lo menos 150,000 pies cuadrados sean de renta asequible para los pequeños negociantes. Segundo, que la renta sea asequible para todos los inquilinos, pero lo más importante es que la persona, con la decencia, con el respeto, se sigan escuchando para mirar cómo podemos escucharnos y entendernos todos. Thank you, Manhattan Borough President.
Thank you very much, Council Member Udanis Rodriguez. Shh. Shh. Now we're going to have a panel of business people. Remember, I talked about the importance of small business. So whomever would like to start, introduce yourself. Why don't you start? Yes. Yeah.
Sí, buenas tardes. Thank you, girl.
Thank you very much.
Mi nombre es Cirilo Moronta. Llevo 33 años en Diamond, los negocios del 809 y Diamond Express. Llegué a la comunidad en 1986, me establecí en Diamond. Tengo más de 40 empleados en mis negocios. Mi preocupación creo que debe ser la de todos los demás dueños de negocio. Y es que automáticamente, como ustedes sabrán, la calle de Diamond está, yo diría que el 80% es una estructura de edificio de un nivel y de 2 niveles, que quiere decir que el 80% de nuestro pequeño negocio vas a tener que ser desplazado para las nuevas construcciones que vendrán. Entonces, ¿qué pasará cuando llegue el momento de que nuestro contrato de alquiler, nuestro lease, terminen? Nosotros no vamos a poder mantenernos en nuestro negocio ya. como lo hemos estado haciendo. ¿Por qué? Como ustedes sabrán, automáticamente nosotros venga la rezonificación en Diamond, eso significa que nosotros vamos a tener que pagar más impuestos, vamos a tener que pagar más impuestos, va a ser prácticamente la renta cuando si lo que podríamos regresar, cosa que yo lo veo muy, muy difícil de que ese proceso en lo que está la construcción, sea 2 o 3 o 4 años, nosotros podemos tener la facilidad de regresar a nuestro negocio. Porque saben que cuando regresemos, si podríamos tener la facilidad, vamos a tener que pagar una renta más cara y muchos de nosotros no vamos a poder pagarla. No vamos a poder pagar los altos impuestos. Entonces, para mí, personalmente, yo lo veo prácticamente difícil de que la mayoría de nuestro pequeño negocio se pueda mantener en el área. Y por eso yo quiero que se tome en consideración de que nosotros, en el caso mío y casi la mayoría, tenemos más de 30 años en la comunidad, que recuerdo que cuando llegué en el 86, en la esquina de Diamond con Diamond, prácticamente esta comunidad o Diamond, lo que la gente estaba ahí era emigrando para otros lugares. Y nosotros paramos lo que es la comunidad de Diamond, el área, y creo que si nosotros permitimos que nos construyan edificios en la calle de Diamond, nosotros estamos puestos a desaparecer. Yo creo que debemos analizarlo muy bien, porque nuestra comunidad va a desaparecer y no vamos a poder regresar. De verdad que no. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Okay, Cirilo's remarks. He came here in 1986, 30 years ago, and established his business, 809 on Dykeman. He reminds people that the majority of the businesses there are 1 or 2 levels. He believes that 80% of the businesses would be displaced by aggressive rezoning. He wants to know what will happen when their leases expire. Rezoning on Dykeman means we must pay more taxes. Those who can return, which I'm skeptical about, I'm skeptical that the plan could be completed in 4 years. If we are able to return, will we be able to afford the higher rents and the higher taxes? For this reason, we ask for consideration, especially for those of us who have been here for so many decades. I remember in 1986, people were leaving, but those of us who stayed rebuilt and restored Dykeman, but now we will disappear.
Okay, thank you. All right, whomever would like to go next. Wendy, do you want to go next?
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Wendy Genao. Vengo representando a Broad Dykeman Car Service, el negocio de mi padre. Este negocio tiene 40 años dándole servicio a la comunidad. Hemos sido ahora mismo con esta sorpresa de este rezoning no ha afectado porque muchos de nuestros empleados están asustados. Si se piensa, va a venir más personas para la comunidad y va a ser mejor, es negativo. Esto nos va a impactar muchísimo. Yo soy nacida y criada aquí en Dykeman. Sé que los cambios a veces son buenos, pero este cambio lo que va a hacer es afectarnos a todos drásticamente. Nosotros ahora mismo tenemos 140 vehículos trabajando, 55% son mujeres femeninas trabajando, muchos estudiantes trabajando. Mi papá ya no está en servicio, que representa el negocio de mi papá, es mi hermano. Yo lo apoyo, por eso estoy aquí esta noche. Esto de rezonificación no creo que es algo positivo, no le veo nada bueno para los negocios ni también para las personas que viven en la comunidad. Mi papá todavía vive en la comunidad, somos parte de la comunidad y no queremos los cambios. No voy a favor a esos cambios negativos. Mi nombre es Wendy Genao y si saben algo, a mí no me llaman Wendy Genao, sino me llaman Wendy Dykeman, porque yo represento Dykeman por donde camino por aquí. ¿Ok?
Hold on, yeah, I'm going to translate.
Wendy, are you going to do that?
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Celine Rodríguez.
Hold on, un momento.
Un momento, Celine. Wendy, it's up to you. Do you want me to translate your remarks or do you want to say your remarks?
You could translate for me.
Okay. Muchísimas gracias. Okay, de parte de Wendy, que es dueña del Broad Dykeman Car Service. I'm sorry. Se me cruzaron. Okay. So yes, the owner of Broad Dykeman Car Service, which has been in business for 40 years. It was her father's business that she has taken over with her brother. They were surprised by the rezoning news. Their staff is very worried. This is a business that has 140 vehicles. 65% of her drivers are women who are in the workforce. She and her employees do not see a benefit to this plan. Her father still lives in the community. She was born and raised on Dykeman. When they call her by her name, it isn't Wendy now, it is Wendy Dykeman. So, thank you.
There's something else I would like to say. Many of us will not say it here. My father has almost 40 years renting spaces. And I need the panel to hear this. This is the real issue going on. Every 10 years, they give us a lease, right? The last lease was in 200 Dykeman Street. You want to know how much money they wanted under the table? $86,000. And I'm making this thing publicly out here from 200 Dykeman Street. This is the real thing. If you don't have money under the table, you will not get a space to rent. Okay?
Miss Rodriguez, go ahead. Yes, Miss Rodriguez.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Celine Rodríguez. Junto con yo y mi esposo hemos establecido un pequeño negocio familiar hace 30 años. Llegamos a los Estados Unidos en los años 90. Estamos ubicados en el 3906 de la 10ª Avenida, donde va a ser el impacto del proyecto. Yo estuve ahí alrededor como le acabo de reiterar, por 30 años en esta comunidad, porque el día 7 de diciembre, sin aviso posterior, sin yo ni siquiera haber asistido a una corte, ¿ok? El Lando, el dueño del edificio, se presentó en mi local diciéndome que yo tenía que desocupar el local porque el local iba a ser cerrado, ¿ok? Posteriormente, de hecho, fui desalojada. Pero lamentando el caso, yo no me voy del Alto Manhattan. Aquí nacieron mis hijos, aquí viví y aquí me voy a quedar con mi negocio.
Okay. Un momento para los demás. Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez, Celine Rodriguez, she opened 30 years ago with her husband a small business at 3906 10th Avenue, an area that is the target of the rezoning project. On the 7th of December, she was asked with no warning and no court date by the landlord to vacate. She is still here. She does not plan to move. This is where she raised her family, and she will stay in business in Upper Manhattan.
Thank you. Oh, wait, she wants to say a little bit more.
Este Lando me informó que el edificio había sido vendido para poner una charter school llamada Academy Charter School. ¿Ok? Posteriormente descubrí que vinieron al board hablando mentira, diciendo que este local estuvo cerrado. En ningún momento ese local estuvo cerrado. Yo estuve ahí peleando por mi negocio, por la comida de mis hijos y por el bienestar de mi familia hasta el día 2 de abril, una semana antes, que fue lo que determinó la corte para yo desocupar el inmueble.
Okay.
The landlord informed me that the building had been sold to make room for a charter school, Academy Charter School. I learned that the group had approached the board and claimed that the building was unused, empty. This is not true. I was in business until the 2nd of April, which was the final date the judge gave me to vacate.
Buscamos ayuda en diferentes políticos, los cuales no me podían ayudar porque lo que decían era que yo era un local comercial y que no existía ayuda para mí. A lo cual tuve que ocupar un abogado para poder defenderme ante una corte, porque no iba a ir sola, claro. El landlord que me está desalojando tenía 47 edificios. Imagínense, yo, una pobre infeliz, que he dedicado 30 años en el Alto Manhattan y no me he podido, me voy a enfrentar sobre un gigante con 47 edificios.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. So I sought the help of elected officials, but no one was able to help me because there existed no protections for commercial renters. The landlord owns 47 buildings. How was I supposed to confront him, me, a humble person, against this giant?
Quickly, because we have many more. Go ahead.
Afortunadamente, por nuestro círculo de comunicación pudimos encontrar esperanza y ayuda. En el Alto Manhattan no se vende. Activamente junto con mi familia. Incluso pude conseguir localizar y tener una conexión con la señora Kay Broom, quien le agradezco mucho su ayuda y esfuerzo para encontrar un nuevo espacio. Y ellos también han ayudado, pero es una historia de un sueño. No encontramos y tampoco quieren alquilarme, porque lo que sucede es que los landlords no quieren alquilarle a comerciantes porque ellos van a ganar más dinero que el que están ganando conmigo hoy en día.
Fortunately, I found help throughout groups in the community through the organization Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale. And connect.
Muchísimas gracias. No pensé que mi comunidad me iba a apoyar tanto como me ha apoyado. Gracias a todos, porque no me han dejado sola en ningún momento.
Okay, backing up. Okay. I also connected with the Manhattan Borough President's Office, Ms. Gail Brewer, who is here tonight. I appreciate her staff's help. They tried to help me find a new place, but no one wants to rent to me because they know they can get more money from somebody else.
All right. Actualmente mis hijos y yo mis hijos están buscando trabajo. Yo me compré una pequeña van y estoy trabajando frente a donde está mi negocio ubicado. Porque como vuelvo y les reitero, no me van a sacar del Alto Manhattan, porque aquí he dejado toda mi juventud.
Let her translate.
Aquí junto con mi esposo he dejado toda mi juventud y cuando vine siendo una niña con un sueño, creí en los Estados Unidos que yo tenía derecho y mis derechos deben de ser válidos en esta ciudad.
Okay, Celine, un momento.
Go ahead.
All right, just Celine, un momento. I set up shop, I bought a van, my children are looking for work, but I set up a van so that I could continue my work of auto repair right in front of the shop from which I was vacated. Because as I've said, this is my community, I have the right to be here, and I am not going anywhere.
All right, Ken.
Okay.
Celine.
Mientras el alcalde y la ciudad siguen dedicados a la rezonificación, se ha estado olvidando de los pequeños comerciantes y las familias de bajos ingresos. como los nuestros, que ofrecen trabajo de ingreso justo y comunidad principal de inmigrantes. Un 75% de los talleres de mecánicas somos latinos, un 64% nacieron fuera del país y un 68% tienen su bachillerato o menos educación formal, a la vez que el salario medio para las ocupaciones de auto electromecánicas son de un 44,000 comparado con el salario medio de 20,000 para las ocupaciones de preparación de comida o las ventas al por menores.
Celine, I gotta go. Stop. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. So really quickly, she wanted to point out that 75% of people working in auto mechanic are Latino, 68% with high school diploma or less, earning a salary that is much higher than they would without, in other fields.
No, solamente le quiero decir, señora Gabriel, estoy muy agradecida como madre por el apoyo que usted me ha dado. Usted ha sido la única persona que me ha escuchado y que se ha tocado el corazón junto con Audrey. Muchísimas gracias. Por favor, voten no. Voten no.
I want to thank Alden Bonilla and certainly Orlando Rodriguez from our office. Charlie Samboy, who is Vice President of EDC. Thank you very much.
I will keep this extremely brief. I will keep this extremely brief. Over the course of the last 2 years, EDC and SBS working together are looking to address the needs of business and community development stakeholders. Working together, we're deploying a strategy in the neighborhood that works together with zoning, investments in infrastructure, and programmatic initiatives, all working together to strengthen Inwood residents and businesses. Specific to businesses, there is a commercial lease assistance program which provides attorneys for business owners. They advise clients on their options, responsibilities, and legal remedies under their lease or the lease that they are currently considering, drafting letters to and negotiating with landlords on their behalf, and assisting businesses with filing formal complaints against landlords and landowners that they believe are treating them unfairly. Ultimately, we want to do is ensure that businesses understand their current lease, or if they are considering a new lease, that they are not entering into a lease that is really not in their favor. When it comes to zoning, what we are doing is using a tool to help create new opportunity. So specifically west of 10th Avenue, we understand that there are many parking facilities, both enclosed and open air, or vacant lots that are not producing benefits for the community. We are encouraging developments of these sites, which include mandatory affordable housing, active ground floor uses, as well as waterfront open space. The combination of these requirements will assist in creating a thriving pedestrian experience and provide opportunities for entrepreneurs or businesses to open, relocate, or expand here. We understand that in the Sherman Creek area in particular, there is a concern for wholesale businesses, and we are working together with the council member as well as your office of the borough president to assist them with a package of zoning that will assist them to not be displaced and provide them opportunities to relocate their businesses and nearly 400 employees. West of 10th Avenue, we know that what we are trying to do is use zoning, again, to create new opportunities. Specifically allowing for second floor commercial spaces. Due to the lack of new development in Inwood, we know that there has been tremendous pressure on the small number of spaces for businesses, and there has been not new inventory added, which is increasingly adding pressure on the rents that businesses are paying. And we believe that by adding this additional square footage in the community, including second floor community and commercial spaces, will provide businesses to afford rents at different price points, both those for ground floor retail as well as those on the second floor. And then lastly, as was mentioned earlier by my colleague Rebecca, in the zoning, what we are doing is west of 10th Avenue, we are bringing businesses that are operating currently, we are bringing them into conformity. So there are a number of retail spaces on the ground floor across much of Inwood that are not compliant with zoning. And what we are doing is adding a commercial overlay that will allow those businesses to be in compliance, and therefore they won't be fined or they won't be displaced as a result of their operation. Okay. So I just want to close by saying, you know, we understand the challenges that you are going through. It is not falling on deaf ears, and we acknowledge that residents and businesses are experiencing change, which creates uncertainty and anxiety. However, action is needed to shape that change in a way that benefits Inwood residents, and the comprehensive neighborhood plan before you today is a response and proactive strategy to deal with that change that we are already experiencing and have been for the last several decades. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want everyone to know that Mr. Samboy always has a great presentation, and I want to thank you very much. Now we're going to call up, first I will have a couple of speakers from the panel, but I want to start calling up people to speak at the microphones. Lori Tobias Cohen, representing the congressman, please line up. I also want to say Robert Joseph from MAS, Timothy Frasca, volunteers for Isham Park, and Ms. Baez, who's a resident of Maple Avenue. Please line up. And now we're going to hear from our wonderful state senator, Madam Alcantara.
Hello, everyone. So as we know, we are expecting 3,048 new units, which we are expecting 35% to be affordable. That means 2,785 new luxury apartments. Anybody that knows that in the city we have a homeless crisis is not because of a lack of luxury apartment. We have a housing crisis in the city because we don't have enough apartments for teachers, for home attendants, for firefighters. So the plan that the city is proposing, it doesn't fit our community and it doesn't fit New York City. In terms of commercial, they are planning to rezone Dyckman, Broadway, and 207. There's no new government-funded tax breaks or incentives for these businesses to stay there. Where are these people are going to work while they are building and doing construction on Dyckman and Broadway? Is the government going to provide employment for them to be somewhere else? In terms of job, I'm a trade unionist by profession. So there's thousands of jobs that are going to be coming to this community. And these jobs are coming, and there's no job training program included in the proposal. So that means that thousands of these working class residents are not going to have access to these jobs. In the current proposal that we have, there's no training for plumbers, for carpenters, or electricians. What that translates into is that people that live in Inwood are not going to have access to those jobs. Responsible contracting language. We have had 39 construction workers that have died in the city of New York. Most of them have been undocumented immigrants. The plan that the city has for us, it doesn't say that the contractor has to pay a living wage. It doesn't say that the contractor has to be responsible. So we are saying no again when it comes to job creation that doesn't include people from our community. Inwood, most of the buildings, I live in West Harlem, most of the buildings in Inwood are 8 and 9 stories. What the current? Six. What the current plan includes is for Inwood to look like Long Island City. And if you've seen Long Island City, it's not Inwood. So we are saying no to the high, no to everything that doesn't take us into account. Also, you already know what it's like to take the #1 train and the A train in the morning. Sometimes you let it pass thinking that the next train is going to be better, and it's not better. There's no plan for infrastructure. There's no plan for new schools. Our schools are already overcrowded. What about the sewage, the water, and the electrical infrastructure? And last but not least, we saw what happened during Sandy and Coney Island and Bellevue Hospital. So what is going to happen to that area? The mayor plan says that if we have another superstorm like Sandy, that it's not going to reach those new apartments. Well, they're going to be right by the river. So what is going to happen? In conclusion, we think that the city needs to listen to the needs of the community. The city needs to look around. If you take any train station, the 1 or the 9, you notice the amount of homeless people we have. Our hospitals is already cutting down beds, and we are bringing possibly 10,000 new residents to Inwood. Mayor de Blasio, this is not what we want. This is not our vision of New York City. Thank you.
Now I'd like to hear, I want to thank Shah Ali, Chair of Community Board 12. Huge process. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shah Ali, Chair of Community Board 12. I would like to thank Gail Brewer, our Manhattan Borough President, and her staff for holding this public hearing. I also want to thank you for being here. The process did not end at the Community Board's vote. It carries on, and your obligation is to carry on as well. If you have not seen our resolution, I think many of you have. We passed it on March 20th. It's a 12-page document. It's detailed. It covers everything that everyone who's raised a concern is in this document. But I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the community board members in the room. So if you're a community board member, please raise your hand so everyone will know who you are. How about, or stand. How about a round of applause for the work that was done by these members? This document is a reflection, this document is a reflection of the work that was done. We listened to you, we listened to everyone, and this is a reflection of that. Some highlighted points when it comes to affordable housing, whether it's city-owned affordable housing, your sign is 100% affordable. We agreed, 100%, thank you, 100% affordable, but to Inwood resident numbers, not to an average, to what you're actually seeing here. We talked about the infrastructure. We talked about SBS engaging in with our business owners. So please do yourself a favor. This was a not support. I also want to acknowledge, again, Wayne Benjamin, the architect of this document, for putting this together. This was a not support, but this was a not support as a roadmap. If you want this community support, you'll reach these conditions. Thank you all very much.